Welcome to Connected with Cari here on Jess TV, Jess FM. We are through Underground Radio C, through my Facebook page. We are live streaming through the Roku station 101. So go to your Roku TV. Everyone's pretty familiar with those by now. And you can download the app called 101. So SSH 101. And on that beautiful, lovely little app, you can kind of scroll through and you will find Jess TV there or Jess FM. We are also now live streaming through Meta TV. Now, poor Rochelle. I put the wrong logo on your poster. And when you think Meta, you think, oh, Facebook and the whatever, but it's a little bit different. Same kind of name, Meta, but it's a little bit different. This Meta TV streams through Italy and through Great Britain. So it's pretty cool. And we also have already been live streaming through the NCG television network in Italy. So we are worldwide. And good morning, folks, to those in Italy, because it's like 3 a.m. over there. And I always like to say good morning to them. And I always tell them, grab a cappuccino, grab your little lattes and sit back and just sit and watch the show and just relax. So we've had a couple of Italian guests on the show. So it's pretty cool. It's really neat to see. So welcome, everybody. It is so gorgeous here in Calgary, Alberta, and along with my guest, she will introduce herself and where she lives, but we're both like, and I don't want to complain because but maybe 2 months ago we had like the cold spell and we're all like, we need spring and so we don't want to complain. We're going to sit back and enjoy. So if you are listening, great. If you catch the replay, even better, because you can go back and then catch everything that you want through the whole night. So so with us, I'm very, very pleased to have a unique guest on my show. I have had, through the years, different people come on and talk about neuroscience and talk about neuroplasticity. I've even done, a podcast a few years ago back with a lady who, Barb Earl, if you remember, and it was health, and happiness. And we did some little exercises with you guys. We had some fun and we get your brains going and had, little practices going on. So I like to dabble in the neurosciences, if you will. And it's fun. However, right, we just don't understand the power of our brain. And, it's so useful, thank goodness. I know some days I don't know, I don't remember things. So with that, it's interesting to learn new things that, there's sort of tricks with our brains that we can train it and teach it and maybe help it remember things or help it to just take a different approach to things. So our lovely guest is going to go into who she is, what she does, and all these kind of neat little brain function thingies that we got going on. Because she knows more than I do. And I'm still learning, but I'm learning a lot. So it's really interesting. I'm going to put you on solo screen so you get the spotlight on you and you can formally introduce yourself and we will go from there. All right, take it away.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate that. My name is Rochelle Carrington. I am the CEO of Emotional Intelligence Blueprinting. And what we do is work with all sorts of high achievers, whether they are founders of companies or executives or CEOs or business owners. And generally, we work with them on getting to peak performance. Because a lot of people who are high achieving get to a point where they feel like they get stuck. They've worked for years, they get to these great levels, and then they feel like they've plateaued. And that's usually when they come to us because they've tried so many different things, different mindset tricks and techniques. They try therapy, they try all sorts of different things to get unstuck. Can't quite figure out how. And so what we do is something a little bit different. We don't do mindset coaching. We don't do mindset rewiring. We do emotional release with people. And I'll explain a little bit about what that means and how that gets impacted in your brain in just a little bit.
Amazing. I want to know, how does one find a career in such an interesting topic? Like, how did you go?
Well,
I want to go into like the brain stuff. Take us through that journey.
Yeah, there are no coincidences, but there are a lot of things that we go through to get us to, a particular place, which is really kind of the story with this. So I had a sales training company for many, many years, about 13 years. And as I was doing that company and working with clients, one of the areas that I really started to dig deep into was mindset, because we did a lot of training around techniques and a lot of training around behavior, meaning the types of behavior you need to get sales calls, prospecting, things like that. But what I would find is that even when our clients oftentimes would understand the technique and would rationally, logically say, yes, I know I need to do these prospecting behaviors, there was something going on here that would stop them. And so I found that just incredibly interesting. And so I went down that rabbit hole of really, how is the mind working? How is it working for you? How does it work against you? Why does it stop you from doing things that you logically know that you should do? And so that brought me into this arena, where we now just focus on what is going on with the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind. We can talk a little bit about what the differences are there, so that people can understand what's really running the show, because it's different than you think.
Oh my goodness, right? So often, and now there is a bit of a difference between imposter syndrome and this. Am I correct? It's two different, or do they correspond with each other?
Well, imposter syndrome, there's generally 4 limiting beliefs that get created in childhood. And this is we go back to really looking at and understanding psychology. And what psychologists will tell you is that from 0 to 7, when you're young, you have the imprinting period. And during that time period, as a child, you are running around in a brainwave state called theta, which is kind of like being in a trance. And if you look at little kids, a lot of times they kind of look like zombies. They're walking around like having no idea what's going on, because their brainwaves are in a state where all they do is take in information, take in information, take in information. At the same time, they don't have really a critical factor developed in their mind yet. And so what that means is every piece of information they take in, they believe to be 100% true, because there's no critical factor that says, maybe this isn't true, maybe this isn't right. So why does that matter? Well, as you're going through that first 7 years of your life, you are getting all sorts of different experiences. You've got positive experiences, and you've also got negative experiences. What we do is we take an experience in that age range, and you have an experience, and an emotion gets attached to it, and then it gets stored in your subconscious mind. Now, when we take a look at just the negative experiences, and they don't have to be massively traumatic, by the way, it could just be something where you were afraid, you got lost in a store and you were afraid for a while. That can be, a negative experience that has a thought, an emotion, and gets stored. You also have people who are telling you things about yourself, your parents, the media, your friends, your teachers. All sorts of people are saying who you are, what you can do, what you can't do, and you're storing all of this information for that first 7 years. Now, one of the things to remember is that since you don't have that critical factor, if a friend of yours says, "You're so stupid," you don't think, well, they're just in a bad mood, that's not really true. You think, oh, if they said it, I must be stupid. If your parents said something to you like, "You're not good at math," you don't say, well, maybe, it's just that I don't understand this part, or I can still learn it. You just say, I guess I'm not good. And so as these things happen, and you're storing all of these emotions in your subconscious mind, we all create one of 4 beliefs about ourselves. And it's always just one, and every human being goes through this. So it's either I'm an imposter, so that's the imposter syndrome. I don't deserve it. I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy. And that then becomes the foundation upon which you make every single decision for the rest of your life. So what we do with people is we help them to delete that limiting belief from childhood, because once that thing is deleted, it no longer holds you back. You now have a strong foundation because you're working off the foundation of beliefs as an adult, not as a little kid. You know, like I say a lot of times, your 6-year-old is actually running your life, your inner 6-year-old, because that was the time in which you made that decision. And it impacts, you don't realize it's impacting what you do. No. But when people look at their life and they go, why do I know the things to do. Why am I not doing it? Why am I procrastinating? Or why do I just get angry? Or why am I offended by so much? Or why do I feel sad? Just, you know, it seems sort of like out of the blue. Why do I decide that I don't like people and therefore I have a hard time talking to people? It's all because of that initial limiting belief.
Right. And we don't remember most of the time because...
You have no idea you have that. Yeah.
You're like, I don't remember things. There are people in the world that do remember. There's a very limited amount of people that do remember things from their early childhood. I commend you out there. But I don't know. I don't know if I would want to remember absolutely everything or not. Could be like an ignorance blessing in disguise. But I think it's interesting. Really, it's totally interesting how like our brains just connect to that age. So it's only just because we're like these sponges and we take everything in and whatever. Like it's so incredible to think at that young, tender age that is so impressionable and it lasts like a lifetime.
A lifetime, unless you do something to make that change. And the interesting thing about memory too is that, so we've got, you know, basically 3 parts of our mind. We've got, you know, the unconscious, which is just the things that runs habits, your breathing, your blinking, the things that you don't really think about. You've got your conscious mind, which is what we would think of up here, which is your logical, rational mind. It's the analytical mind. And people spend about 95% of their time up here. The other interesting thing about the conscious mind is that it has very limited storage ability. So think of it like your phone. When you get too many photos and videos on your phone, it says you've got to start to delete things. So the reason you don't remember is because your conscious mind doesn't have the storage capacity to remember every memory of your life. So what it does is it deletes a lot of them because it just says that one isn't going to affect us. We don't need to know that. Or it will delete it because it thinks that it's protecting you because it was something difficult or uncomfortable. And so it just wants to delete it so that it doesn't, you know, come back and hurt you. So it will delete, it will generalize things, and it will also combine memories. So if you're ever sitting around with your family or your friends and you're talking about something that happened when you were younger, and you say you're talking about an event as one whole event, and your family's like, no, that was 2 totally different things, like a year apart, that's where your mind perhaps combined those 2 things. And it does all of that because it's got to save space. So what I tell people is a lot of times if you feel like you can't remember things, it's not because you're losing it or you're getting older or anything like that, you know, barring any major medical condition. It's because your conscious mind said, that doesn't matter. What you ate for breakfast yesterday doesn't matter. We don't care. We're going to use that space for something else. So that's your conscious mind. Then you've got your subconscious mind. That's the one that has every memory of your entire life. From the time you were conceived until now, it knows every single thing you've done.
Okay.
But here's the thing. People are spending 95% of their time up here in the conscious mind and maybe 5% in their subconscious mind. The problem is that your subconscious mind runs 95% of your life. Your conscious mind runs 5% of your life. So how interesting that we all get taught to spend 95% of our time on the thing that runs 5% of our life, and close to no time on the subconscious, which is running 95% of what you do. And so we help clients to really tap into that subconscious. When you work with your subconscious that's already running 95% of what you do, everything becomes much easier. And we align the conscious and the subconscious mind so that they start to work together. Because a lot of times what will happen is people self-sabotage. The conscious mind says, I want this goal. And the subconscious mind goes, remember, you don't think you're worthy. So you do things to get to that goal. Let's say it's a money goal. I want to, run $1 million business, or I want to make, $100,000 or whatever it is. So you'll do some things, but you don't get there because these two things just start fighting. When your subconscious and your conscious mind fight, that's when you feel stuck. That's when you hesitate. That's when you feel frustrated. That's when you're like, why am I not reaching the goal? I'm doing all the things. What is going on? So it's really fascinating how that works.
Makes total sense now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I just blame our 6-year-old self. I see you out there.
You're a little 6-year-old.
And it's totally true where, your storage capacity is just, it's getting full, and because then, like you said, you're just like, yeah, I don't remember what I had for breakfast, but then it's like, yeah, who cares what you had for breakfast? Like, doesn't really matter unless it was like a really good meal.
Then you will remember. Yes.
And I'm like, yes, that's so true.
If there's an emotional charge with it, then you remember. So if you had breakfast with, some close friends and you just had a great time, you're going to remember that. If you had a breakfast that was amazing, if you had a breakfast that was terrible, the worst breakfast you've ever had. So it can be a positive emotional charge or a negative emotional charge. It doesn't really matter. That's when it will remember. But if it was just like standard breakfast, your brain's like, you do that every day. So like, why do we need to remember this?
2-star breakfast versus 5.
We got yogurt again. All right. Good for you.
You'll remember that. Oh my goodness. It's hilarious. I think it's so true. And then and it's just like you said, we remember some things and we don't remember some things. I can totally relate to putting 2 similar events together. I've done that, and I'm just like, oh, wait a second. I stop myself. I'm like, maybe that didn't happen, or, because it's either the same place or same people. And then I'm like, oh, am I losing it? I'm like, what's going on?
You're not. That's the good news. You're not losing it.
Okay.
Your conscious mind is just doing its job.
Yes, Mom, see, I know you're watching. I'm sorry for mixing things up, but it's not my fault. It's my brain's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
My 6-year-old self's fault. That's why. Right? Okay, let's go into a little bit about maybe, I want to do testimonies, but I don't know if it's too early for that. Yeah, let's go into some interesting stories, how you've have you helped do you only help individual clients, or do you help maybe, like a workplace? Do you have
do both.
Workshops? You do both. Okay. So let's go into maybe some successful turnarounds and, maybe kind of how they came in and approached you, and then sort of like the outcome. All right. You don't have to name names. Like, that's, if you want to just, disclose it, it's totally up to you. But yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, one example would be a CEO of a company who was fairly, on the younger side. Maybe this is going to show my age, in his 40s. And he built a company. He started when he was 24 or so, and he built it up to about a $40 million company in the kind of manufacturing space. And he came to me because he said, I cannot stand walking into the lobby of my company anymore. Like, when I walk in, I am just, I hate it. And I'm really upset that I've worked so hard on this business and I have more goals for the business and the way I want to grow it. I love everyone that works there, but when I walk in over the last year, I've just felt this like horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. I don't want to be there. I go in, I'm not interacting with my employees like I used to. And he was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And so, nothing was wrong with him. But what happens is when these sorts of things happen, you've got a lot of negative emotion. Our emotions are stored in the cells of our body. They sit in our nervous system. And at a certain point, people's nervous system gets full. And that's when things just start, you get this bad feeling or this frustrated feeling or angry or sad or whatever it may be. And so that's really what he came with. He said, I have two choices. I can either do something to start to love my business again, or I'm going to have to sell it, and I don't want to sell it. And so we worked with him for 8 weeks. That's all it takes. And when he was done, he was going into the company. He was interacting with people again. He was like, this is the best place to be. He has expanded into 2 other countries as a result of that. And his business has grown exponentially. And, for him, the most important thing was, I just want to love what I built again. And he was able to get back to that within 8 weeks. So that was a really,
yeah, that's like so sweet to be able to give someone's passion back to them and go, it's not, do you really hate your company? No, you worked so hard, you put all of this effort into it, and then it's just that little block that had to be removed. And then it's like, he loves his company, and I'm sure he loved the people there too anyway, regardless,
he had a lot of
right?
family working for him too. So he was like, this is important. I mean, this company is supporting a lot of my family as well as his own family. And for anyone that's ever started a business, it's a lot of work. And he worked very hard to build this company up to get to a point where he's like, I can't stand it. It was heartbreaking to him. And he just figure out, what to do. And the standard, mindset tools, reframe things, or go be more positive. Those things don't work because they work with your logical mind. And the issue was emotional, not logical, not rational.
Okay.
And so you work with, so when there's an emotional issue, you have to use emotional tools, not logical tools. And super excited when, the day I remember getting on a Zoom with him, and he was just like, he looked different. And it was probably about 5 weeks in, and he was just like, I had a great day going in today. I felt like it did when I first started the company. So it was really awesome.
That is so sweet. Take us through, because I know a lot of you listening are sort of the same. We think, I can just manifest money, or I can manifest my business getting better, or, if I, say the right things to myself, and I'm like, okay, I'm so beautiful and I can do this. Like you said, that's with the logical mind. So what are some of those issues with the logical mind that it's not going to just do it for people?
Well, the challenge is that we, and myself included, have all been taught that the way to manifest, the way to get what you want, number one, there's a few things you can do. And I would just call these are typical mindset coaching tools. One would be positive affirmations. So you journal positive things. I am financially independent and I don't need the business, or something around those lines. And what happens is when you're doing that, if that isn't the truth, your subconscious mind already knows that's not true. So all you're doing is a logical writing something out or verbalizing something to yourself. So positive affirmations, journaling, some meditation that tends to be more people staying in conscious mind and not really going to subconscious. Therapy does the same thing. It is a conscious mind activity, not a subconscious mind, because it's all about, let me understand what the issue is talk about the issue over and over and over again, which actually deepens the neural pathways and makes the issue stronger, and less likely to be able to be released. And the mindset tools, people get frustrated because they say, I've been journaling or positive affirming or reframing for years, and why do I still not feel good? Why is it still not happening? I don't get it. I'm doing the stuff. And the issue is, yes, you're doing stuff, but you're using logical tools to fix an emotion. And logic and emotion, you can't use logic to fix emotion. Because number one, emotion will always override logic every single time. And if you want an example of that, think about something, if you've ever had think about going back to grade school or high school. If anyone ever gave you a zinger, said something to you that was sort of mean, and in the moment you couldn't think of a retort, but later on you go back home and you're sitting in your room and you're stewing over the whole conversation, and suddenly you come up with like 3 different things that you could say back to that person to just stop them in their tracks. Well, what happened? What happened is that you knew those things in the moment when that person said something to you, but your emotion rose up, zeroed out the logic, so you couldn't access any logical thinking. And then when you went home and you calmed down and the emotion wasn't as high, your logical brain, conscious mind starts to kind of work again. And that's why you can think of it at that particular time and not when you're emotional. So using logical tools to fix an emotion doesn't work. It's like a shoe and trying to, bang a nail in. It's going to get in there a little bit, but that picture is probably going to fall down at some point, and it takes a long time. And the other cool thing is that when you use and work with your subconscious, it's fast. The work we do is 8 weeks, and people are like completely different. This is not like you have to go do this for 3, 4, 5 years. You have to do this forever. It's not 66 days to create a habit. Your subconscious is your AI supercomputer. When it makes a change, it changes and it's done. And you don't go backwards, and you don't have to revisit or tell stories about it or relive anything, because your subconscious mind doesn't need any of that. So that's why those tools, people get frustrated because they're like, I have a mindset coach, things, but like, I don't feel like it's worked. What is happening? Now you can understand it's just using the wrong tool for the situation.
There's no shame mindset coaches out there. You guys are doing a good job. Let's put that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. We need them too, for sure. But yeah, like you said, sometimes it's just a little bit deeper, that it's like, okay, well, I don't even know how long it would take for even just the mindset coach for that stuff to kick in. If it was a logical solution, I would think it wouldn't take too long either, right? So if it totally clicks with what's going on.
Yeah, it's great for logical issues, for strategy, for things like that take logic and analysis. Mindset coaching is for something that's emotional. It's not going to help. So again, it's like with anything, you've got to choose the right tool. There's a reason you use a hammer to put in a nail, even though there's a bunch of other things you could pick up to do something similar. And the same thing with any sort of coaching. You want to make sure you've got the right coach for whatever is going on.
Right. I think we've all used something other than a hammer at one point too.
Yeah. And then we're surprised when the picture falls in the middle of the night. It's like, wait, what happened? Why didn't that stay in?
Right, when we went through the drywall, it didn't go to the stud because well, there you go. I mean, that's exactly what it is. The right tools. We want to not just go through the drywall, kids. We want to get to the stud. The root of the problem, right? The absolute root of the problem. We want the picture to hang beautifully on your wall.
And stay. You want it to stay. Not just hang beautifully, but you want it to stay up.
Exactly. And to stay for a lifetime. Yes. Absolutely. That is so neat. Yeah, I have to say, I did like a little bit of a trial run with Rochelle's program. And I loved how, I don't want to give away too much. But what was beautiful about it was it touches on some of the root things that you like, just emotion, simply put, like some anger, or as I'm like trying to think under pressure.
That's when the logical mind stops working under pressure.
Right. Under pressure. I'm like,
Yep.
shoot. Okay, there's 5 emotions. And she helps us go through those emotions to, extract them out or to block them. And I thought it was really interesting because I have found since I did it, which was about a month or so ago, I'd say probably about a month ago. And the first 2 were very similar. So I was like, did I skip one, or did I not? Did I do something wrong? So like fear and anger, I think, were very 2 similars. And so I was like, oh, maybe I should go back and redo them. But I wasn't really sure, because maybe, you're learning something new and you're taking a lot in and whatever it was. But what I did find was that it has helped me kind of, well, one thing, okay, real quick, is I actually was in a car accident about 1.5 years ago. And so I had been driving with a lot of fear around the area of where the accident was. And just when I'm in a similar situation. So I got T-boned at an intersection, and it was in January, and it was cold outside, and it was, a little slippery, and, morning traffic. Not the greatest ideal situation. So, I went to a turning lane, and I didn't get the nice blinking green. I just had a solid green. So I had to wait for traffic to come through. And it was at a major intersection. And like I said, lots of traffic. So I'm waiting. I pulled into the middle, was waiting, and then the light turned yellow. And I was like, okay, everyone's stopping on their side, looking like I'm good to go. And then as I went, someone had came through the intersection, and then bam. So on top of the traumatic part of it, it's also like, okay, well, now it's deemed my fault because of the situation. I was turning left, and I was like, okay, well, there's a lot of people have been through the same situation. And I know, like, I posted up on Facebook asking for help if anyone had a video of the situation, and, to kind of help me out. But anyway, it's all, done and over with. I came to terms with it. It is what it is. And that's how it goes. However, over the course of the year, like I said, it's been 1 year and a little bit, especially when it was January, kind of around the anniversary time. And I'm like, I still go to the same area. And I was just like, I was feeling it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it just eats at you. And it's not like you can help it, but you try and breathe through the situation, and you tell yourself, okay, slow down, and, look around you, be aware. It's okay. You tell yourself you're safe. Everything is fine. You're lying to yourself very well.
Your emotions know better. Yeah.
Right. So they do. You still feel that little clench in your tummy going, are you sure? Are you really sure? So what I found after doing the program, and it was just the one time that I went through everything. And like I said, I was like, I don't know if I did everything right. But I did find that it actually really helped with that fear, especially of that big traumatic experience that is more newer in my life. And so now I find that, I know the situation, I know the intersection and whatever, but I just don't feel that little anxiety or like the panic when I pull into that intersection. And in fact, it's like, okay, I'm actually feeling a little more confident than I did before.
Yeah. Which is exactly what, oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad that helped, and that that you did that. Because what you're doing is your body holds on to that emotion from that event. It obviously, you also remember it consciously, because that was a big event that happened in your life, and then the body stores that emotion. And so every time there's a memory, something that is similar that's where your body goes, oh no, we need to feel that emotion again.
Yeah.
And so it can be, and it's not, a lot of times it's not rational. It's like, but it's not January, it's not snowing, it's not even the same intersection. Why do I feel like this? What is going on?
Yeah.
So it's stored in there. And as long as it stays in there, it's going to become, it just becomes a trigger, a constant trigger. And so what we do with people, and what you did, was we taught you how to release it. And once you release it, then the memory is still there. You know what happened, but the most important part is the emotion is gone. And when the emotion is gone, you have no trigger anymore. Now you drive with confidence. Now you're not concerned about it. Now you don't get that, kind of uneasy, anxious feeling that nobody likes. Nobody likes to have that and to feel that way. And so that's what we do. And, it's fast. It's pretty easy once you learn how to do it. And I'm glad, that I'm really happy that it was successful for you.
Thank you. And like you said, what's beautiful about it is it's very, very easy to use. It's like a video tutorial. Like, kids, you cannot go wrong.
You can't do it wrong. That's the other thing. When you say maybe I did it wrong, you cannot do it wrong. It's impossible to do it incorrectly.
Right, because I was like, oh, this video is like almost identical. Did I just, you're like, huh.
It's using a similar protocol for different emotions. And so we do the 5 major emotions: fear, anger, sadness, guilt, and shame, which are the 5 major emotions that everyone generally is carrying around in them. Some are stronger for some people than others. Some, for you, maybe fear would be a little bit stronger because of the incident. Someone else, sadness might be really strong for them, and fear for them is an easy one to release. Sadness might be a little bit bigger, or guilt might be a little bit bigger. It all depends on the person.
Yeah.
But I've gone through all the protocols myself as well, and have even done them with my 2 daughters that are 16 and 21, and my partner has also done them. So, it's not like we are above and didn't experience any of the stuff that everybody else does. All humans experience this, create these beliefs, hold our emotions in our nervous system. And when you get rid of it, the release and the things that start to happen for you, you talk about manifesting. If you want to manifest, you got to release the emotions, and all the things that you want to have happen, just you become a magnet, and they come, and it's easy, and opportunities show up, and all the people that you've been looking for in your life start to show up. And it just seems like, well, how is this all happening? Like, what's going on? Because you just let this whole, gate down. And now all the stuff that was there the whole time in front of you, you now see it.
Yeah.
We had a client that said to me, he's in a sales business, and he said, I used to be able to trip over sales opportunities and wouldn't see them. And now after 8 weeks, he's like, his business is up 70%. He's like, I have so many, like everywhere I look, there's an opportunity now. And before they were there, but I missed all of them. Like they would hit me in the face, I wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
So, those are the types of things that happen. It's very cool.
Well, I have had some very interesting networking Zooms over the last couple weeks as well. So
yes, there you go.
There's been some interesting things happening, and you guys out in the audience, you'll be seeing some stuff soon. Don't worry about that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it will be cool. What's exciting? Can you just take us through the Kardashian little story real quick, and then we'll wrap up?
Oh, sure.
Because I think it's exciting, and it's kind of neat because, it's cool.
Yes. Well, I have a blog that is on Substack. It's called Mindset Matters. And we were featured on Kourtney Kardashian's website. She's got a health and wellness website called Poosh, Poosh. And they asked me to write a blog for that as well. And so we were featured on that website. And that was just a really fun, talk about, again, a crazy sort of opportunity coming out of nowhere. Would never have thought that, but we got that opportunity, and So that was really a lot of fun.
Right? See, you did the program.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have to be a product of the product. Otherwise.
Exactly. That's why, you're like, well, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, whatever. But these accomplishments in our lives, I do believe, we should be sharing them. We should be journaling them. We should be, this is what we are. This is what we've made. And we can say, yeah, this is our story. And to get up there, it's not bragging. It truly isn't. Like you said, it's really ideally the product of the product. So
Right.
I commend you on all your work and your accomplishment, just even on that. But what you're doing is truly, in a way, saving lives. You may not see it as that, like, oh, I just do brain stuff, but in a way, like, just even for myself, driving, it's something that I do every single day. And I just, especially when it's wintertime and there's snow, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, I don't even want to leave my house because I'm just like, I don't want to go out there and face that situation again. So now I'm like, okay, I look forward a little bit more to, like, I will go places anyway, but like I said, when it's winter or those conditions, or, and I'm going to that same area now, even when it's nice out. And like I said, there's no, that fear is not there. I'm just going and I'm like, okay. And I know, like, yeah, okay, I'm obviously rational and I do take my time, whatever, but it's, like I said, it's not that gut wrenching moment.
Right.
Going up to the intersection going, and, tightening up everything, like my stomach, and, like, it's just horrible. So those of you who can relate, I highly recommend Rochelle. She is totally amazing. And just, like I said, you are a lifesaver. So thank you so very much for your service. It truly is a wonderful service. So where can people find you to inquire about your services? Maybe a website? Let us know where we can find you.
Yes, you can find our website at emotionalbp.com. So it's like emotional blueprinting BP. So emotionalbp.com. You can email me at rochelle@emotionalbp.com. You can find my Substack blog on Substack. It's called Mindset Matters by Rochelle Carrington. And you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram and on LinkedIn, and also YouTube. So if you just, put in my name to any of those sites, you'll be able to find me, I think.
You never know, right? Going in there. And okay, thank you so very much
welcome.
again, Rochelle, for letting us know where we can find you and all your amazing work. So Substack is what it is? Okay.
Substack is a blog, a site where a number of people write blogs. Okay. And so if you go on to substack.com and you just type in Mindset Matters or type in my name, Rochelle Carrington, you'll find me on there. And there's probably about 60 different blogs on there. There's different links to things on there as well. Amazing. So if anyone wanted to find out about a program, read a couple of the blogs and you'll have a way to get in touch with me.
Amazing.
And LinkedIn is also a great way too. I'm on there quite a bit.
Okay. So, thank you so very much. I appreciate you and your time, and please thank your partner for your time as well this evening, because it is time away from them as well. So please thank them on behalf of myself, and to our audience, thank you as well for coming on this evening, and we will see you soon. So have a wonderful, beautiful weekend. Enjoy the sun. Stay cool. All right, Rochelle, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Well, there we go, folks. Another Connected with Cari here in the books. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in this evening with myself and my special guest, Rochelle. She's amazing. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. Having some of those fears removed, some anger removed, some of these little issues that go on in our lives every single day that we just may not understand why we can't get over that hurdle, or what's going on here, what's going on there. Imagine a multi-million-dollar business that once was going to close its doors, and Rochelle kind of revived it back to life. Pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. So thank you again, you guys, for tuning in this evening for Connected with Cari. Stay tuned for next week, and actually tune in on Tuesday, as I'm going to be doing another listening party over on Underground Radio C, and then on Connected with Cari next Saturday. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that. The following Wednesday is another Shift Happens show. Make sure you guys tune in with Dina and myself for that. And I guess that's about it. So make sure you guys have a wonderful, amazing weekend. Keep cool here in Calgary. Make sure you guys stay connected. Good night.